and Lubman. Giants are hot. Warriors and Mike Dunleavy may be hot as well. Buddy Hield is now a Golden State Warrior. D'Anthony Melton is a Golden State Warrior. Slow-mo. Kyle Anderson is a Golden State Warrior. Klay Thompson is a Dallas Maverick. Chris Paul is a San Antonio Spur. I think I've caught everybody up right there with what they have done.
Saric is somewhere.
He might be in Serbia. Is he doing Olympics? Is he Serbian, Slovenian, Slovakian, Ian? I don't know.
He's Eastern Bloc.
I think I named all the Baltic states right there. If I missed one, apologies to all you lovely people out there in the Baltic states. I love all of you and you guys eating fish for breakfast, which is definitely something.
Well, listen to us on the free Odyssey app.
That's right. Or on YouTube, which again, we are international like Pitbull. We're Mr. Worldwide. There you go. Again, shout out Miami. You can see the Miami tattoo that Sam has if you are streaming us. It is definitely something. Sam, what would you grade this offseason so far for one Mike Dunleavy and the Golden State Warriors?
I feel like it'd be kind of a cheap out to take the old incomplete because
I've never had a class where I've gotten incomplete. Miss me with that.
So I'm not going to do that, though. I think so far...
And we're not doing pass-fail either.
It depends on how much better do you think this team is. You know, they were a 46-win, 10 seed last year.
We're a 43-win team, dude.
That might be where they're at right now, to be honest.
Really?
No, I think they're I'm going to go with a solid B- right now. Okay. I do like these moves. I think you're going to see some improvement maybe from the Warriors. But in terms of just kind of how they stack up in regards to the rest of the West, I don't know if they've actually gained ground. I think if they do move up in the standings, it's because teams ahead of them are going to be faltering. So I'm sounding a little down on it right now, but you lost two future Hall of Famers in Klay Thompson and Chris Paul. I don't care what age they're at. Those are guys that could still contribute to a winning basketball team. We know this. We're seeing Klay go to the Mavericks do just that. I think the Spurs, Chris Paul working with Victor Wembanyama next year, that should be fun to watch. I'm not saying that Chris Paul elevates the Spurs to a Western Conference contender or anything like that. This is all a long way to say that, I think the Warriors have taken marginal steps to get better, but I feel like we're still missing that cherry on top of everything, that kind of a move that brings it all together. I don't know what that move looks like. It's not going to be a Lowry Markkanen. My feeling, my preference is that the Warriors are out on Markkanen now that they got Buddy Hield on board. And also when you consider the haul that the Jazz were looking for, and the Jazz apparently are, I believe there was a report yesterday, are possibly pulling him off the market. So
off the Markkanen?
Off the Markkanen.
Thank you.
So,
Zach Lowe's also reporting the Miami Heat now have interest in him. That's the latest.
Yeah, that would comes down to it's just I'm not giving up a king's ransom for Lowry Markkanen, and if I'm the Warriors, I'm not working in desperation with Danny Ainge. So, if I'm the Warriors, I'm taking a step back from that. I'm not touching that one. If there's another move out there, I'd be curious to see what it is. But if this is the team that the Warriors go into with next year, I don't know. It's going to be hard-pressed for me to think that they're better than a play-in team right now.
Okay. 888-957-9570. How would you grade this Warriors offseason in the job that Mike Dunleavy has done? 888-957-9570. How would you grade this offseason? Honestly, I was thinking about this all day yesterday. During all the fireworks, everything going on, I was just like, you know what? It's been a pretty damn good offseason, all things considered. I didn't think they could get a player, let alone 3 players of the caliber that they got. Maybe 1, but not 3. I think Buddy Hield, who is not a replacement for Klay Thompson, by the way, let's just get that first out of the way. He is not a Klay Thompson replacement. He is a strict 3-point shooter who will add some shooting depth. He will probably be coming off the bench, but that's fine. That's all they need from him. You're not going to get great defense. You're not going to get great playmaking. You're not going to get a lot of high basketball IQ on the court. But you are going to get an elite 3-point shooter. He is a vet. There is something to be said about that, but that's all it is. Kyle Anderson, who is not a great scorer either, but you're also going to get great depth, size, length, and yes, he can hit some 3 balls if you need him to. It might just take some time like dial-up back in the day. D'Anthony Melton, high upside guy as well. Back injury, I didn't know it was a spinal Back injury, shout out my guy Mike Tyson.
I broke my back.
Spinal. That's what it was. So a little bit concerning there, but the upside obviously could potentially be massive for a guy like DeAnthony Melton, who signed a 1-year, $12 million deal with the Golden State Warriors. So honestly, and this might be high, and maybe I'm just riding off the high of that sign and trade yesterday for only a second-round pick, I think it's an A-. I'm giving it an A- for Mike Dunleavy right now, Sam Lubman, because I didn't think they were getting 3 players, let alone 2, and maybe they were getting 1, but they got 3 players who are plug-and-play guys right now, off the bench, maybe spot starters at times. And with the loss of Klay Thompson, I get it. Hall of Fame guy, made guy, that's great. I think his presence in the locker room, from all the reports we are hearing right now, was weighing on some of the guys, the vets and the younger guys. I think getting a new, fresh blood in there and 3 guys who have not been a part of this team, I think that is good. And also, I get Chris Paul. That is a loss, and that was basically a glorified salary dump, as our friend Anthony Slater said, obviously moving off of Jordan Poole and bringing him in and just waiving him for nothing. But I do think it was a net positive. His 1 year of leadership helped a lot with guys like Brandon Pajemski, Trace Jackson Davis, and I think he wanted to move on elsewhere where he was going to be more of a focal point in the offense and the rebuilding of a team like he is with San Antonio. So I love what Mike Dunleavy has done this offseason. Love it. Give it an A- people.
Yeah, I mean, that's good, but like he's definitely improved the bench with the additions of Hield, Melton, and Anderson. The questions I kind of have, I kind of want to see. I want to see these kind of play out before I truly kind of give a legitimate grade here. I want to know what's going to happen with Andrew Wiggins and Moses Moody. Moody, it feels like he is going to be the odd man out. It'll be interesting to see how you could fit him in now with this system. I think Kerr is going for a more veteran-heavy team this next year, so maybe the plan is, all right, we're trying to do what we can to build around Steph. As far as the moves they've made, though, yeah, I mean, they're good moves. The reason my grade's so low is just, what is a successful offseason? I think it's one where you're coming in thinking, oh, we got a real shot to take the West this year, because that's the goal, right? You got 2 years left on this deal with Steph, plus whatever he gets on his extension. So you probably got a 2 to 4-ish year window still with Steph Curry, which is crazy to say when he's going into his age 36 season. But if the goal is to do everything we can to maximize Curry's window here, I don't know if this is the roster that totally does that. Is this a roster that maybe, creates trouble for a team in the playoffs? I guess, but that's where I kind of wanted to lean incomplete. I'm not saying incomplete. That's why I want to lean incomplete, is I want to know what happens with Andrew Wiggins and Moses Moody, because if you could find a way to move those guys and bring someone in to help things out, I'd be kind of curious to see what that looks like, because right now I don't see a future for Wiggins and Moody on this team.
Well, it all goes back to expectations, Sam, to your point. If you expected this team this offseason to have a move or two that vaults them into the top 3 in the West, I just don't think that was there. Maybe Paul George, but again, the Clippers were never doing business with you. That's why I always thought it was pie in the sky stuff. Mm-hmm. They were never going to make a Western Conference contender better than them, especially when they're moving into a new building and they desperately need to make the playoffs. They're not going to help out another team vault in front of them when they are already kind of taking a step back. If you look at the landscape of the West, I mean, all the young teams ahead of them, the Thunder, the Mavericks, the Timberwolves, the Nuggets are still there. I think we're all sleeping on the Denver Nuggets. Yeah, they were just a game or two away of being back in the Western Conference Finals, and I do think they would match up better against the Dallas Mavericks, and I do think they could have potentially gone back-to-back, but the Timberwolves beat them. It is what it is, but I think we are sleeping on them a little bit. But it goes back to expectations of what you thought Mike Dunleavy could do this offseason, because for me, I didn't think there was a move that vaults them back into the top 3. I don't even think if they get Lauri Markkanen, that does that just yet. Are they a playoff team? Yes, but I would give them an A+ if they somehow still landed Lauri Markkanen. That's where I'm at an A- right now. It would vault to an A+ if they got Lauri. But right now, just with what they had to work with, the financial handicaps that was given to him, this kind of a mess of a roster when it came to egos, when it came to finances, don't get it twisted. Mike Dunleavy inherited a toxic situation coming off of that punch from Draymond Green to Jordan Poole. You had to get make a choice. They stuck with Draymond Green for better or for worse. They got rid of Jordan Poole. They brought in Chris Paul. I thought he was a net positive. They obviously hit on Pajemski. They hit on Trace Jackson Davis. And I do think, again, Chris Paul was a hit, even though he was here for just a year because of his leadership with those young guys. Kuminga took a leap this year. Can he take another one next year? I just think people have been way too hard on Mike Dunleavy because of this whole Klay Thompson situation. What he inherited and what the team looks like now, I think he's done a tremendous job.
Yeah, no one's denying that he ran it. He dealt with a tremendous job. He inherited a tremendously difficult situation. As far as the Clippers thing, I mean, the thing that always held me up is I could never really see the Warriors being like, yeah, we're going to send Jonathan Kuminga to the Clippers. And I mean, not so much the Clippers sending Paul George here, but they would have to send Kuminga back. And could you imagine having to watch Kuminga if he does take that next step, ball out in his career in a Clippers uniform and one of the Warriors' chief rivals? That, if I'm Joe Lacob, I'm not okay with that. I recognize the situation was difficult for Dunleavy, and maybe it's kind of one of those things. It's almost an unwinnable situation if the goal is to get that, one more ring. That's why, I don't know if we were kind of talking, last week on the show, if maybe taking a step back was the right move for the Warriors. I think they are kind of in a sense forced to take a step back, right? Because they're hard capped on that second apron now because of the Thompson sign and trade. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, they can't. Yeah, you don't want to. They're not in a position where they can go dip into the second apron. They're at that first apron cutoff point, and it's very convoluted. It's very confusing, but they do not want to dip into that second apron.
But they can't spend over $189 million.
Correct.
Now.
You're seeing teams right now dip into it are Boston Celtics, right? Because they can afford to do that. Why? Because they have young players and guys that are going to be in their prime for the duration of their contracts that they just signed. Jason Tatum re-signing, Jaylen Brown re-signing last year, max deals, Derek White, 4-year, $100+ million. They're in a position to dip into that, like the Warriors were in the past. If obviously they had the second apron back then, this has all been since they had Kevin Durant and all that stuff like that. But that would be in a position where they felt like they could dip into it. But Joe Lacob, to your point, Sam, has said it on our show, on our station, to the fans, to the media. Hey, if I don't think this is a championship contender, I'm not going to overspend. All right. Money is definitely important to me still. I know you think I have limitless pockets and stuff like that. I'm Scrooge McDuck.
And he's spent a lot of money on this team. So the idea that his pockets are bottomless, the money he's spent on this team, he might be touching the bottom of his pockets every now and then.
Correct. So, yes, finances are definitely something to keep an eye on when it comes to the Golden State Warriors. Maybe it wasn't a focal point in the past, but it damn sure is now. From the Xfinity mobile text line, 888-957-9570, how are you grading this Golden State Warriors offseason thus far? Mike Dunleavy, what grade are you giving him? I'm giving him an A-. Sam's giving him a B-. What say you? Are you giving him an incomplete? One of those fake answers? I don't think I'm accepting an incomplete today. I'm not expecting a pass or a fail either. You know why? Because I went to my college classes. Shout out SF State, shout out Berkeley City College and Monterey Peninsula College. I didn't take any of those crappy classes. That's why. 510. He has done a good job for what the situation they were in. Toxic is the fact. Yeah. That started with Kerr enabling the core to get huge-headed and act a fool in the court. In the court makes it sound like it was like judge, jury, and executioner. While the young players couldn't make one mistake. I listen. Some of this goes with Steve Kerr.
That's an interesting way to put it. I'll let you go.
I can't blame Mike Dunleavy, though, for what Steve Kerr is doing. And I actually kind of agree a little bit to that. Steve Kerr is always going to lean to the vets, though, because he has Stephen Curry, he has Draymond Green, and he had Klay Thompson. I think he felt he owed it to those guys to put the best product out on the court. That's why he didn't fully trust Moses Moody. He trusted Brandon Podziemski early on because he felt, in his words, that he got the position and ran away with it, and he earned that spot. He doesn't think that Moses Moody has taken the full reins of the position that was granted to him, so that's why he is stuck on the depth chart behind guys like a Brandon Podziemski. Whether you like that, agree with it or not, that's just the reality. So, yes, Steve Kerr is culpable somewhat, but again, that just goes back to Mike Dunleavy inheriting a team that has a lot of egos, the head coach included, because he has won 4 championships, and his say is obviously the final say. This isn't like Farhan Zaidi and Bob Melvin, where Farhan can, pick the lineup, do all that stuff, go to the nerds, say, I don't know, this is what we're doing, Bob. Bob might have some sway in game, but I feel like Farhan still has the final say overall.
Mm-hmm.
Golden State Warriors is Steve Kerr. He has the tenure there. He's going to do what he feels is the best with the roster.
Oh, yeah, on game days.
Correct. It's not the same. So I get what the 510 is saying there. But again, I just looking at the job and the moves that they have made, I think he's done a tremendous job.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. I wonder how much this job is not so much just rebuilding the roster as it is you got to rebuild the culture. That's going to be the big thing. Because
what is the culture right now for you, Sam? What is this Golden State Warriors culture?
You know, it's clearly not what it used to be. I think Clay leaving kind of exposed it as being not as great, maybe as we used to believe it was. I think, just kind of. Well, so I guess just kind of getting out that, the bad feelings that were there with Klay Thompson this last season. I'm not saying that Klay was the reason why that there was a toxic atmosphere, but like when someone's in a bad mood, it can just permeate, and it does kind of hang over the locker room like that. And my guessing is just that you kind of are getting some addition by subtraction there with Klay, which is a weird thing to say. And so in that sense, we might see an improvement there, but I need to see how that looks on the court first before I can truly kind of make my decision there. It's so hard right now because I don't know what other moves they're going to make. And again, I still don't believe that Andrew Wiggins is a lock for this team's future. If he is still on the team, I don't know if I'd be shocked, but I would be like, I don't know. I just, for some reason, I'm just getting this feeling that if they're going to make another move, that Wiggins and Moody will be a part of that. And I feel like that's kind of what we're waiting on right now. That's just kind of what I'm seeing, what I'm looking at.
Well, for the 650, they would like to move Wiggins and Moody for DeMar DeRozan. I don't know if I would make that deal.
5 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, DeMar had a great season last year. He was very clutch. Obviously, the Warriors know that firsthand. He's mid-range, deadly from the mid-range, kind of maybe be that Sean Livingston type. But again, I always go back to this. I've been out on Andrew Wiggins for a while. I said even last year at the trade deadline, they should move off of him. I mean, his value, I don't even know what it is around the league right now. I don't think it's very high. Even the Bulls even offered Zach LaVine for Andrew Wiggins, and I want to say one other player that escapes me right now, and they were going to give the Warriors a first round pick, and the Warriors were like, no. So I still think they value Andrew Wiggins. And I still think with his contract and age, I don't know if I'm ready to do that with DeMar DeRozan. I get it. But again, I don't think they're going to be all in this season alone. I think they're looking at the next 2 years, and this is going to be the preamble season setting up next year where they will truly go all in. Now, if they get Lauri Markkanen, is that going all in? What say you? 888-957-9570.